¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. It is indeed Wednesday. How's it going, Cheeseburger Freedom Eagle? Howdy, everybody. Welcome. Whew. All right. Sorry about that. We had a bit of an incident. Alio with the 10 biddies. Thank you so much. Why can't I see anything? 11 biddies. I'm sorry. There we go. Oh, there we are. Michael Hassler, how's it going? Technical difficulties? No, I wish they were just technical difficulties. So, for those of you that know, we've had a very very friendly cat who has decided to hang out with us while it's been freezing. And, well, I've been noticing a weird smell this entire day. And I have been searching for the source of this weird smell. And right as I was starting to stream, I found it. I did find it, unfortunately. It looks like our buddy decided to use the restroom outside his litter box. Yep. So that was nice. That was nice. I'm thinking he might need to see a vet. That might need to be something in the works soon. But yeah, that's why it took a second. Sorry about that. Trump implores Bob Woodward, don't say I gave them to you after sharing King Jong-un letters. Okay. The audiobook contains more than 8 hours of interview Trump gave to Woodward while he was still president. Well, I mean, if it has anything useful, we'll take a look. So right after stream, I'm gonna go take care of that. Jesus. All right, folks, we should get started. First, I think a huge thank you to the Surfs TV for giving us a cool shout out. Appreciate that. And second, I'd also like to show you guys some art that somebody on Twitter did. Apparently, they do a lot of art related to like streams and whatnot, and just random art as well. But I feel like I should show you guys. check this out. Isn't that cool? Maybe I can just open it. There we go. That's pretty freaking cool. So, it's the microphone with... Because I have kind of like a blue... I kind of have like a blue, windscreen. But if you look closely, it's actually the planet, which is currently on fire. And the bottom of the mic says the difficult truth. It's just perfect. Thank you for showing my work. Oh, that's you? What? Thank you so much. That was pretty freaking cool. I actually really like this a lot. If you guys want to follow... Yeah, the blue windscreen. Head on over to this Twitter account, okay? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. I did not realize it was you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's pretty cool. Oh, I know what I need to do. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Give me 1 second, folks. Aha! Cosmic seeking no notification again. Boo. We'll see how long it takes for it to get you. For it to get there. Alright, Cheeseburger Freedom Eagle. Let's see if it shows up. Alright, there you go. You got the little artist badge. Neato. Alright, so it worked. That's pretty cool. What is on the menu today? Since you just got here, Cheeseburger Freedom Eagle made this cool little image. So I was just showing that off for a sec there. We've got Wisconsin group asked the Supreme Court to block Biden's student loan forgiveness. Oath Keepers trial update. Trump to be deposed in the rape defamation suit. Texas parents sent DNA kits to identify kids' bodies. DeSantis agrees to release Martha's Vineyard records by December. Of course, conveniently, this is after the election. EPA sued for lack of plan to regulate water pollution from factory farms. So that's kind of just where we're going today. Thank you for the art badge. No problem. I appreciate that. It's pretty freaking cool. I'm probably going to use that for some things, if that's okay. Folks, if you guys have a second before we get into it, if you guys have a second and would like to continue to support this channel or help support this channel, head on over to the YouTubes if you haven't already and just hit that big red subscribe button. We just crossed over the 200 subscriber count. So if you guys have a moment, just go ahead and click the big red subscribe button. Easy peasy. Alright, so let's start with this one. Wisconsin group asks the Supreme Court to block Biden's student loan forgiveness. A Wisconsin taxpayers group has asked the Supreme Court to step in an emergency basis and temporarily block the Biden administration student loan forgiveness program from taking effect. The application for student loan forgiveness officially has opened on Monday this week. Student loan cancellation worth up to $20,000 per eligible borrower if you have Pell Grants. Okay. Anyways, $20,000 per eligible borrower if you have Pell Grants. $10,000, I think, if you just have like federal loans or something like that, which could begin as soon as Sunday, October 23rd, if the court does not intervene, according to the filing from the Brown County Taxpayers Association. The request was filed to Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who has jurisdiction over the lower court that ruled on the case. She is likely to refer the matter to the full court. The Biden administration is facing several legal challenges over the program, but this is the first to reach the Supreme Court. The taxpayers group lawsuit has not gained any traction at the lower court level. A trial-level federal judge dismissed the case within 2 days of being filed, ruling that the group lacks standing to bring the lawsuit. The notification just arrived at a 25, almost 26-minute mark. Nice. Cool. So if this case has no standing, why is it like allowed to keep going, right? You would think that like if a case, if a court case has no standing, I mean, why would it even be allowed to continue from that point, right? If you find that there is more of a case, then bring up a new lawsuit based on that standing, right? Wouldn't that be like the more logical way of dealing with it? I don't know how. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense as to why the Supreme Court is even entertaining this. Who was damaged by the Biden's cancellation debt? The feelings of these libertarians. That's what was damaged. There's no real damages. The only damages are the feelings of these libertarians. That's it. In a one-sentence order, the U.S. 7th Circuit Court of Appeals also refused the plaintiff's emergency request for a pause, which again, if the initial court says no, you've got no standing. The appeals court says no, dude, in a one-sentence order. And then why is the Supreme Court even taking this at all? It makes no damn sense. That's why they don't have standing? Gotcha. The Brown County Taxpayers Association, which is being represented by the Wisconsin Institute of Law and Liberty, argues that the president does not have the legal authority to implement his student loan forgiveness program. Okay, why? In the new filing with the Supreme Court, lawyers for the group argued that the implementation of the program would be a staggering blow to the U.S. Treasury and taxpayers. How? We are witnessing a gargantuan increase in national debt accomplished by a complete disregard for limitations on the constitutional spending authority. Like, did they make this same argument when Trump did an emergency order to appropriate funds for his stupid border project? No, they were nowhere to be found, of course. The Biden administration argues that Congress gave the Secretary of Education the power to discharge debt in 2003, through a law known as the HEROES Act. The Independent Congressional Budget Office has estimated that Biden's loan forgiveness program could cost about $400 billion. Biden's student loan forgiveness program, first announced in August, aims to deliver debt relief to millions of borrowers before federal student loan payments resume in January after a nearly 3-year pandemic-related pause. Again, if they have paused this for 3 years consistently, and none of these financial companies who gave these predatory loans have gone under, why not just eliminate the entirety of this debt? I don't know. It just seems like whatever. It just seems like more could have been done. The federal government was the one that was giving out predatory loans? Really? I thought it was being handled by another third party, or am I wrong? The UK government continues to melt down. The Conservative Party is driven in infighting and resignations and sackings and the policy U-turns. Well, I hope y'all sort that out. I was not aware. I thought that while there are federal loans, weren't they handled by a third party or not? I'm not sure. Oh, the third parties were just handling the payments. Okay. I see. So then wouldn't the case for complete debt relief wherever possible, meaning if you have the power to do the federal loans, then by extension, wouldn't you have also the power to technically eliminate those federal loans? I mean, right? While the application officially opened on Monday, the Biden administration has agreed in court documents to hold off on canceling any debt until October 23rd. Once processing begins, most qualifying borrowers are expected to receive debt relief within weeks. Under Biden's plan, individual borrowers who earned less than $125,000 in either 2020 or 2021 and married couples or heads of household who made less than $250,000 annually in those years will see up to $10,000 of their federal student loan debt forgiven. If a qualifying borrower also received a federal Pell Grant while enrolled in college, the individual is then eligible for up to $20,000 of debt forgiveness. So there you have it. Loans are originated by the Department of Education. Servicing was contracted out to a third party. Okay, yes, I see. This is just corroborating what Bipedal Meatbag was saying. To which then I would ask the same question, right? There's no reason why the loans can't be canceled. The DOA falls under the executive branch. There you go. So the real question is like, then dude, if you have this power, why not just do it, right? Jesus Christ. Like, it just makes no sense. If it falls within your purview and you have the ability to do something, the onus is on you. In a separate lawsuit, 6 GOP-led states have also asked a federal judge to put student loan cancellation on hold until issuing a final ruling on this case. The judge's order on that request is expected soon, though the losing party is expected to immediately appeal. That would send the case to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, where it's likely to face a panel of conservative judges. The states have argued that the Biden administration does not have the legal authority to grant broad student loan forgiveness. The states also claim that the policy would hurt them financially. How? As well as the revenue of a student loan servicer based in Missouri known as MOHELA. How would this hurt the state financially? And furthermore, I don't care about these like student loan servicers. Like, just buy them off if that's the case. These things shouldn't exist to begin with. Can local Supreme Court stop the president from enacting federal orders? Shoot. No, I don't think so. Only a federal judge, right? That's how that works. You would have to go through the federal judiciary to stop that. At least that's how it makes sense in my head. The loan forgiveness policy creates an incentive for borrowers to consolidate federal family education loans owned by Moella into direct loans owned by the government, depriving them, Moella, of the ongoing revenue it earns from servicing those loans. Yeah, don't care. On the same day that lawsuit was filed, the Department of Education changed its policy so that borrowers whose federal student loans are guaranteed by the government but held by private lenders, including those made by former federal Family Education Loan Program, were no longer eligible for debt relief. The move cut out an estimate of 700,000 people from the student loan forgiveness program, which we went over. That's some bullshit. The states won't be getting tax revenue in the same amount from the servicers anymore. Okay. Yeah. There would have to have a suit brought up to them. Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. The Justice Department prosecutors drop a huge bombshell reveal that they have enough evidence to charge Trump with obstruction. Well, we'll see. until I see the news about an indictment. We'll see. I mean, like, the evidence is definitely there, right? So we'll see. I'll believe it when he's in an orange jumpsuit. True. Again, I don't know why Biden didn't just like go for it completely. Trump will just take the fifth. That's fine. If it's like the obstruction case, that's fine. It's not going to save him from all the mounting evidence that keeps piling. Strata Luke, welcome. Welcome. They're gonna call him a socialist anyway, so Biden might as well go all in. True. Because socialism is when the government does something, right? And and when it does a whole lot of things, it seems like Biden was trying to play both sides and limit the backlash with the limited relief and means testing, and he should have just forgiven all the loans. Right, everything that he had within his power when it comes to like the federal loans, he should have just done that from the beginning, right? Why was that, it was not necessary, in my opinion. He should have just done it, which is the frustrating part about this whole thing, right? It's a repeating, consistent pattern. You have music in the background? I should. Can you guys hear it? It should be like, it honestly should be very low. I put it very, very low, but it should be there. It is? Okay, cool. It's strong? Really? The music is strong? Jeez. I'll just put a little bit lower then, just in case. I think I have you at 55%. Well, my microphone should be loud. My voice should be the one that should be, loud. It's lower? Yeah, I lowered it a little bit. Forgive all loans and make it like free with most European countries. I have music in the background. Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah, just have a universal education system. Yeah. There you go. Easy peasy. It's far better for students and better for the economy for people to be educated and be able to spend extra income they got by being educated. It's hard to see the real downside. There is none. That's why like a whole pretty much everybody else does this. That's why pretty much everybody else. That is the way you come over. The music was just a hint in the background. Yeah, that's the point. The music should be very, very low. Hopefully, I just put it a tad bit lower. Hopefully that should be okay. Unless they do something about the tuition costs, we're going to have to do loan forgiveness again later. True! We shouldn't be in this problem in the first place. That's right. The mic's very good. Okay, perfect. As long as you guys can hear me, the voice, it's all good. All right. Music has been lowered just a tad bit. So there you have it, folks. We'll see what happens with this. If the Supreme Court takes this, it would be ridiculous. It would be absolutely ridiculous as to why the Supreme Court would even entertain this. All right, let's talk about the let's give a little update for the Oathkeeper trial that's been going on for sedition. Biden implores all U.S. oil companies to pass on record profits to consumers. Ha! Or instead of asking them, he doesn't have to ask them. I'm just saying. Oathkeepers extremists were prepared to use any means necessary on January 6th to stop the certification of Democrat Joe Biden's electoral victory. A group of the members testified on Tuesday. That was yesterday. The testimony from Jason Dolan came in the trial of Stuart Rhodes, the founder of the far-right militia group, and 4 associates facing seditious conspiracy and other charges. Dolan, who has pleaded guilty to a conspiracy charge in the U.S. Capitol insurrection, is the first Oathkeeper member to take the stand as part of a cooperation deal with the prosecutors as he seeks a lighter sentence in his own criminal case. As he testified Tuesday, federal agents showed jurors the pistol and semi-automatic rifle Dolan brought with him to the Washington area. Yeah. Kind of keeps destroying that narrative that this was just supposed to be some kind of peaceful protest, right? It's really weird because all of these cases, more and more evidence keeps showing up that there was weapons across the board. I needs a dose of sanity. Well, the evidence for the criminal case on Donald Trump continues to mount. So there you go. All the Dems care about is January 6th. It's actually kind of funny. Well, I don't know, dude. An insurrection seems to be pretty freaking important. And you're also just wrong. There's a few issues here at play. But sure. Trump new voter fraud claims are wrong. Federal judge says as he orders Eastman emails turned over. Huh. Well, this is an interesting development. I guess we'll move on this one over here. Rittenhouse really said the president of bringing ARs to protest. Now the judge feel the right to bring their AR everywhere. Yeah, but nah, this has been happening beforehand. These clowns have been doing it. These clowns have been doing it for a while. I didn't know that leftist means liberal nowadays. It doesn't. Wait, these are two separate words. Why would you equate two separate words? You're not making any sense. None of what you've said so far in the past 4 messages have made any sense. Would it be possible for a rioter to take legal action against Trump for inciting him to riot? No, I don't think that's how that works, right? I don't think that's how it works. You kind of have to accept like the consequences of your own actions, right? All of your rhetoric is purely liberal. Okay. Wait, I'm sorry. Can you define these two words? Plus all the news you read are from MSM? Yes. We do the news here, my friend. Hi, welcome. I'm glad that you can accurately describe what's happening here. Yes, we do news here. Congratulations. I can't wait for this definition of I mean if we want to like have a discussion, like can we at least agree on like basis of reality, and understand the definitions of the words we're speaking. By the way, how's it going? Spread it forward. Welcome. Trump is free to speak, but the listener has a right to listen, obey, and not obey. Right, like the onus is on the person actually taking these actions. So I don't know how you would like go about that, right? Like you gotta have some agency, yeah? Okay, good, Brenda. Hope it all is well. Yeah, I'm hanging in there. It would be like suing Alex Jones for lowering your IQ. SMTDOs, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome. Huh. We'll take a look at this in a second. Welcome, welcome. No, thank you. Appreciate it. And you get 5 free emotes, including Bakita the cat. Alright. As he testified on Tuesday, federal agents showed jurors in the pistol and semi-automatic rifle Dolan brought with him to the Washington area. He said that he and others were willing to take up arms if necessary to keep Republican President Trump in office. It seemed to me a lot of us were prepared. I was prepared to stop the certification process one way or the other, Dolan said. When asked by the prosecutor how they would achieve this goal, Dolan responded, by any means necessary, which is why that's why we brought our firearms. Dolan is the first of the several Earth Keepers with cooperation deals with the government who are expected to testify in the seditious conspiracy case against Rhodes and his associates. We never get those definitions, do we? Nah, I mean, like, it's always the same thing, right? Like, you know, these people come in and, like, completely crumble when you ask, like, basic definitions or, like, a basic question. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Sad. I just got a call for air duct cleaning. Karma continued to kick my ass. Jesus. Yikes. I'm sorry to hear that, friend. They are Hey. Stop it. They are the first among hundreds of people arrested in connection with the Capitol riot to stand trial on seditious conspiracy, a rare Civil War era charge that calls up for 20 years behind bars. The stakes are high for the Justice Department, which last secured such a conviction at a trial nearly 30 years ago. Dolan's testimony could undermine Rhodes' argument that he was acting in anticipation from orders he expected from Trump, orders that never came. But, like, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You can simultaneously believe that the God Emperor Trump is gonna, give you the order to do, whatever is necessary. And you could also simultaneously say, well, we need to be prepared to do whatever we need to do by any means necessary. Both of these things can exist. So I don't see how that could undermine this argument, right? Because you can simultaneously believe that by any means necessary, you're going to have to stop the certification of this free and fair election, and also expect the God Emperor Trump to decree these orders to you. Rhodes' attorney have said that he will take the stand to argue that he believed Trump was going to invoke the Insurrection Act and call up a militia to put down what he saw as a coup, as they engage in a coup. Well, Trump never did that. Rhodes' lawyer said his actions could be seen not as seditious, but as lobbying a president to utilize the law. Yeah, okay, sure. Whatever. The group ultimately did not use this massive stash of weapons, dubbed a quick reaction force, and stored in a hotel room in nearby Virginia that included weapons Dolan and others brought with them, which is wild to me. Unbelievable. Just how different things could have gone should these people have decided to go the other way. Dolan said he believed if Trump invoked the Insurrection Act, which gives the president wide discretion to decide when military force is necessary, there would have been factions of federal government fighting against other factions of the federal government. But Dolan told jurors that the Oath Keepers were prepared to act no matter what Trump did. Yeah, but both of these things can be true. You can be waiting for the order, and you can also be prepared to act no matter what, as a backup. If the president wasn't going to act, we would have to act. Right, so both of these things can exist. Dolan, a 46-year-old former Marine from Wellington, Florida, pleaded guilty last year to one count of conspiracy and one count of obstruction to an official proceeding. The judge said that at the time, the federal sentencing guidelines call for a term of more than 5 years to 6.5 years behind bars, though prosecutors may seek less time in exchange for cooperation. Dolan testified that he joined the Oath Keepers in 2020 after he quit his job at a hotel to recover from a surgery that failed to fix ongoing hip problems from his military service. At the time he joined, he told the court he was trying to numb the pain with alcohol and spending hours a day in his garage scrolling through his phone, watching videos about the 2020 election and growing angry and more convinced that Trump's false claims of widespread election fraud. Which is wild to me, just how, the radicalization process happens. Jeez. If you believe that on January 6th, Trump could order you, John Q. Public, to assault the Capitol, then you need a thorough series of mental evaluations. Yeah, you probably, should be speaking to somebody if you believe, these type of nonsense that are completely divorced from reality, right? A-Bond with 100 biddies, thank you so much. You're good, Alia. We're just trying to do, as the stories that we got here. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Folks, we also got an announcement, I would say about the half point. So let me just get through some of these. Some of these headlines. Yeah, but don't worry about it. We got plenty of headlines over here. Rhodes' attorney have suggested they will try to paint the cooperating Oath Keeper witnesses as liars who flipped under pressure by the Justice Department. Well, you gotta prove that they're lying. right? 3 Oath Keepers who have pleaded guilty to seditious conspiracy could also take the stand to testify against Rhodes, including a man who has said Rhodes instructed the Oath Keepers to be ready to use lethal force if necessary to keep Trump in the White House. Like, I don't understand. Like, this illustrates just how close these people were from just outright using violence. And instead of like a half-assed coup, they were a skip and a hop away from doing a legitimate, violent, even more violent coup with weapons that they had stored and were prepared to use. That's some scary shit. I'm not gonna lie. That's some scary shit. The fact that these people were just that close. Did you watch it live? Wait, what? This trial? No. Yeah, we were all here. We all watched it go down. We all watched it. Well, we watched... Okay, so we were watching like all the live feeds that were going on. I was actually streaming that day. I was streaming what was going on in the January 6th because we all had like this feeling that something was going down. So I fired up the live stream. There was quite a few of us here, and we were watching as things started to unfold. I think that we got to the point where they started to breach the fenced areas, and like they started altercations and started to get physical with the police before I had to go into work because I used to stream on in the morning. So that all started right as it was all going down. Wait, did I stream it on Saturday? Wait, I might be lying. Hold on. When was January 6th, folks? Was it on a Saturday? Because I might have actually stayed streaming for a bit. Let me see. I don't remember if it was a Saturday or not. Let me check. January 6th. No, January 6th, 2021 was a Wednesday. No, it must have been right before, it must have been right before I logged into work. That must have been why I couldn't go any further. I watched it live too. I thought they would get to kill members of Congress. Well, if they got their hands on them, yeah. What's scary is that the feds knew and did nothing. Yep. That's another piece of this puzzle. That should be deeply disturbing to folks. The Secret Service knew. The feds and several law enforcement knew. Yeah, it was a weekday. I've got a feeling if they got their hands on some of those Congress people, they would have absolutely done something to them. I mean, again, it's just a skip and a hop from things being so much worse. So much worse. And the more you read about it, the more horrifying it is. Yeah, it was a weekday. The chopper in Pelosi's office also left drops of blood from the paper cut. Ah, yeah, no. Those people, would have absolutely done harm. Correct. One does not set up gallows to hand out participation prizes. True. Um yeah, one does not spend thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on weapons and ammunition and planning um to hand out participation prizes. Correct. Dolan described how the mood of the crowd at the Capitol changed from joyful to angry when it became clear that the vice president was not going to hold up the certification. No shit. As the Oath Keepers approached the Capitol steps, people started calling to them and parted the way for them to pass as they stormed the building with hundreds of insurrectionists. I'm not going to call these people rioters. These people were insurrectionists. At the time, it was gratifying to be recognized, Dolan said. Now looking back, he feels much more differently and wants to take responsibility for what he did. I think I was pretty naive and downright stupid with some of my decisions. That's one way of putting it. That's one way of putting it. Now that you got caught, here we are. Well, if it isn't the consequences of your actions. What if some of them started taking hostages? Like I said, if they got their hands on some of those Congress people, God knows what. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. As you mentioned, Zip Tie Man was running around, with his tactical gear and some zip ties. I mean, what do you think they were for? Avon, thank you. By the way, for the support, I appreciate that. I agree that crowd was full of rage and violence. I think they would have gotten seriously hurt. Oh yeah, 100%. Like they keep bringing up like, oh, Ashley Babbitt and Ashley Babbitt. They felt the need to defend the building, and somebody ended up getting shot. So yeah. Trump is actually lucky they did not take him hostage. Why would they take him hostage? They're his guys. They're his people. Why would they take him hostage? They're there for him. To support him, not to take him hostage. On trial roads of Granbury, Texas, are Kelly Meggs, the leader of the Florida chapter of the Oath Keepers. Kenneth Harrelson, another Florida Oath Keeper. Thomas Caldwell, a retired U.S. Navy intelligence officer from Virginia, and Jessica Watkins, who led an Ohio militia group. They face several other charges as well. I used to live in Granbury, Texas. If you drive through Granbury, there's lots of witchcraft symbols all over the place. Interesting. Nah. Not at all, Alio. Not even close. They were there for him. Why would they even... No. No. Not even close. They were there for him. Not even close. So I think this is a good article to piggyback off. Trump new voter fraud claims were wrong, federal judge says as he orders John Eastman emails turned over. A federal judge on Wednesday ordered the release of emails from John Eastman, a former Trump attorney, to House investigators, saying that the communications were made in furtherance of a crime related to Trump's effort to subvert the 2020 election. The email showed that President Trump knew that the specific numbers of voter fraud were wrong, but continued to tout those numbers both in court and to the public, the judge wrote. Damn. So, like, all this was based on this entire, like, imagine how much, I mean, if it's even possible, if these people are even capable of feeling, like, shame, how embarrassing is it to come to the realization that not only have you been lied to this entire time, but he knew that he was lying. In other words, the people who support this guy and who continue to run defense for him are just a bunch of chumps. That's what it is. We are also lucky they did not return. Well, somebody asked me. I don't think I answered that question. Do you think that something like this could happen the next election again if they aren't happy with the results? I think it could happen, but they're trying a different route. I think it could happen, but I think they're trying a different route. These elections, they're getting ready to be a little bit more smart about it. We've gone over several articles where Republican operatives are trying to encourage poll workers to act in manners that they're not supposed to act in. Republicans are having seminars as to how to train these poll workers. They're doing this, and another path that they're taking is attempting to capture like local offices for Secretary of State, Board of Elections and whatnot, things like that. That's the route they're gonna take. That weird independent state legislature shit. Yep. That's the case of North Carolina, right? Which we should pay attention because that's coming up at some point. The North Carolina Supreme Court case, yeah. The court finds that these emails are sufficiently related and in furtherance of a conspiracy to defraud the United States. Wow. This is from a judge, by the way. Okay. Carter, who sits on the federal district court in Central California, already released many of Eastman's emails from around January of 2021 to the House Select Committee investigating the U.S. Capitol insurrection, but the two sides were still arguing over the 562 additional documents from Eastman's Chapman University email account. For 8 of the 500-plus Eastman documents the judge was examining, the judge said that the materials could be released because they fit in the so-called crime fraud exception, which allows disclosure of otherwise privileged material if the communications were related to or in furtherance of illegal or fraudulent conduct. Damn. Yikes. Four of the documents were from email threads discussing prospective election litigation. In them, Carter wrote, quote, Dr. Eastman, and other attorneys suggest that irrespective of the merits, the primary goal of filing is to delay or otherwise disrupt the January 6th vote. Again, it's just unbelievable to me. The audacity that these people have to then utter the words that the Democratic Party is the party that are trying to subvert elections. Okay. Are they frustrating the DOJ case? Yeah, well, yeah, they're gonna try to stonewall as much as possible, but there's only so much you can do. This is in relation to the January 6th committee investigations. Carter's new order cited one email where Trump's attorneys state that merely having this case pending in the Supreme Court and not ruled on may be enough to delay consideration of Georgia. This email, read in context with other documents in this review, make clear that President Trump filed certain lawsuits not to obtain legal relief, but to disrupt or delay the January 6th congressional proceedings through the courts. The ruling states, the court finds that these 4 documents are sufficiently related to and in furtherance of obstruction of the obstruction crime. 4 other emails that the judge is ordering disclosed demonstrate an effort by President Trump and his attorneys to press false claims in federal court for the purpose of delaying the January 6th vote. The judge went on to cite a December 2020 email, and by the way, they're getting a little bit more organized to do a better job of this. Like the simulacra said, that case in the Supreme Court coming up from North Carolina is definitely one to pay attention to. The judge went on to cite a December 2020 email where Eastman said that Trump had been made aware that some of the allegations made in a state court election challenge were inaccurate. Yet Trump and his attorneys went on to file a federal lawsuit referencing the same inaccurate numbers. Carter's finding will bolster the committee's investigation into former President Trump's election reversal gambits. Again, I mean, like, how does it feel? I mean, is there like no sense of shame and no sense of embarrassment after all this time? I don't think they're capable of feeling something like shame. I mean, like, how embarrassing must it be that you've been played to the folks, you know, who still believe in this guy. How does it feel to be played, to be conned, to be used by this absolute clown? Shame and embarrassment get in the way of acquiring power and grifting people's money. True. I thought the January 6th committee was going to pass criminal cases to the DOJ for prosecution. Yeah, if they, whatever they find, they will recommend to the DOJ. The committee has repeatedly argued that a core tenet of Trump's plan to overturn the 2020 election results were to file frivolous lawsuits intended to delay the certification of the results in key swing states. Right, which then, of course, the purpose of this is to create this this sense of illegitimacy to the election process, and that's really what the goal is. If you can get people, well, his people, because like no reasonable person is going to buy any of this garbage, but if you can get his people bought into the idea that there's definitely something there, that's enough to shatter the confidence in the electoral system. And that's the point, because now, next time, in 2024, they can just do it again. And they'll be more prepared. People like Steve Bannon and other Republican operatives are getting prepared. They want a network of attorneys and a network of poll workers. Again, this is not like conspiracy. They're literally admitting this. So, yeah. Screams of privilege being able to be conned by Trump and feeling no shame. Yep. Can they get Mike Pillow for anything? Not sure. He's got that civil lawsuit, but I don't know, like the criminal wise, I don't know. But if Trump and his buddies say election machines are bad, you're probably convinced the people not to vote. Yeah, I mean, like it's not even about the election machines. It's just to dispute the It's just to dispute the actual like election system itself. If you can cause, even if it's not true, if you can cause like this doubt, if you can cast this doubt, that's really all you need. FBI seized Lindell's phone. Yeah, I don't know if like I don't know if there's any like criminal. Maybe they will be. On the opposite side of the coin, shame and embarrassment get in the way of pursuit of euphoria and the rapture of always being right. True! The committee has repeatedly argued that a core tenet of Trump's plan to overturn the 2020 election results was to file frivolous lawsuits intended to delay the certification of the results in key swing states. The judge's ruling echoes that sentiment. The revelation of the emails also come as the Justice Department, as well as the local prosecutor in Atlanta, have launched their own criminal probe looking at the 2020 election schemes. Eastman must also hand over portions of the material related to his proposal for then President Mike Pence to disrupt the certification of the 2020 election on January 6 of 2021, the judge ordered on Wednesday. Earlier this month, the committee argued that Eastman has been consistently unreliable as he's tried to protect his communications from ongoing probe, and the investigators should now get access to more emails from one of its work email accounts. Nice. And just to piggyback off this, Nevada businessmen, oh, hold on. Pro-Trump conspiracy theorists hound election officials out of office. This is another plan of attack. Nevada businessman Robert Beatles whipped up outrage against local voting registrar. She said she quit in fear for her family's safety. They're threatening these people. This is literally acts of terrorism. These are literal acts of domestic terrorism. But okay. Right. Terrorists can't be white. True. Businessman Robert Beatles claimed that he found evidence of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. Then he went on the attack targeting a 48-year-old woman who runs the elections in Nevada's Washoe County. Now let's talk about treason. That's right, treason. Beatles told the February 22nd county commissioners meeting in Washoe, the second largest county in this election battleground state. The Republican activist falsely accused the registrar of voters, Diana Spicula, of counting fraudulent votes and told the commissioners to either fire her or lock her up. After the meeting, Spicula's office was flooded with hostile and harassing calls from people convinced that she was part of a conspiracy to rig the election against former President Trump. Jesus Christ. On March 2nd, a caller threatened to bring 100 people to the county building to put this to bed today. Spicula, under severe stress, stopped coming into the office. A post on Beatles' website said she was rumored to be in rehab. That was false. She said she was at home working on state elections manual. By late June, fearing for her family's safety, she had had enough and submitted her resignation. This is unacceptable. These people are committing domestic terrorism, and they need to be held accountable. Beatles' campaign in Washoe is part of a wave of efforts by pro-Trump activists to gain control of voting administration by replacing county government leaders with election conspiracy theorists. Some are spending big money. In Nevada, Beatles has poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into campaigns targeting opponents of Trump's false rigged election claims and backing Republicans who believe them. The goal is to profoundly change how U.S. elections are run. Right-wing activists want to eliminate voting machines and return to hand counting of paper ballots, which experts say would make elections more prone to fraud, not less. Trump allies have also targeted the ballot drop boxes and mail-in voting that Democrats embraced in the 2020 election. Last year, as documented by Reuters, U.S. election officials endured an onslaught of intimidation by Trump supporters after the 2020 election. This year, they're facing well-founded campaigns, such as the one in Washoe. Officials who resist baseless stolen election claims have faced accusations of treason and other crimes. The point is always cruelty with people who can justify threatening families. Yep. Reuters identified 44 counties in 15 states where local officials have faced efforts to change rules on voting since the 2020 election. All of them were led by Trump loyalists or Republican Party activists driven by false voter fraud theories. Again, anybody who's posing this idea that anybody who's posing this idea that we have a serious problem, and we need election integrity or whatever, the simple question becomes like, okay, well, where is the evidence that this problem exists, and will these policies fix these problems? It's always very strange how organically things can evolve without realizing it. There's a historian called Christopher Clark who is famous for his work on World War One and how each nation sleepwalked into war rather than intending to bring it into being. His ideas can be applied to a lot of things where people are always caught in the present without any real understanding of why they're there and where they are going. It's a runaway train in some respects. The Republican obsession with electoral validity process systems and etc. It's just that. It's a consequence of an unacknowledged past, turnout myths, demographic paranoia, and leads to an unanticipated future, undermining elections and the nation itself. Yep. The GOP looks at Russia and Ukraine and thinks, whoa, we can have elections like that. Yeah, elections. Yeah, okay. True. The GOP loves this idea because they actually don't believe in any type of electoral process. They don't care. They're not interested in that. I could see police say as long as it's just threats and nothing happens, we can't do anything, even though the threats alone are crimes. Happens to me personally, so maybe the same with the poor woman then resigned. Yeah, that's the point. It's to intimidate, so that then they could insert their own people who deny elections, and thus actually ending up weakening our electoral systems, actually ending up doing the very thing that they were accusing of being the problem here. It is against the law in most places to make threats, to threaten a state official. Yep, it should be. I guess one of the questions that perpetually is asked of authoritarians is, do they actually know they're authoritarian? Do they realize what their actions look like from the outside? And how do they respond to that? Because if you ask most Americans, do you believe in democracy? They'll say yes. Then you ask, do you think your party should be able to bend rules and get policy done? They'll also say yes. Everyone convinces themselves that they know the answer, no, and if only they had the power. Right, but isn't that in and of itself authoritarian? Like, why would you think that if you... like... Ah, yes, I'll be the benevolent dictator. Don't worry, folks. I will be the benevolent dictator. These campaigns are having an impact. In Washoe, Beatles attacks helped drive out Spicula. 10 of Nevada's 17 counties, including Washoe, have seen their top election officials resign, retire, or decline to seek re-election since the 2020 vote, which the state government calls a drastic exodus. 4 of the officials told Reuters that harassment or sustained efforts to challenge the 2020 election results were among the reasons for leaving. Beatles told Reuters in an interview that he's only seeking to have a fair and free election, regardless of who wins, except that's not really what you like, really what you want. Because you're not actually being very honest by saying that. The onus is on you to prove that this election was fraudulent, and you have not managed to manifest the evidence to suggest this. So why do you continue? Well, yes, that's what I would say. Most citizens in most states are at least open to the idea of authoritarianism of convenience, as in they can tolerate breaking rules as long as it's they who get to do it and not the others. And that's why I don't think most Republicans would see phony elections in Ukraine as good, because they must believe they're right even when they're wrong. Yep. No doubt at all that the police are also incompetent in general. They could have known and just not cared. Yep. Authoritarian doesn't really mean anything anyways, in my opinion. Well, I think it does. I think, yeah, I think authoritarianism does have a meaning. Now, some people have taken upon themselves to warp this meaning. But yeah, I mean, if you want, we can use the word autocratic thinking. I'll be back later. The dogs need their evening walk. No problem. No problem at all. Thank you so much, by the way. Excellent stuff. If it doesn't apply to the country with 25% of the world's prison population, what does it apply to? Yeah, you could say our justice system is garbage. You can also say that we don't really have that much of a democratic system. Like we have like a thin veneer of a simulation of a democratic system. But inherently, it's not really as democratic as we'd like to think. Just because there's this perception that there's some kind of weird aura behind trying to paint America as some sort of bastion of freedom, it doesn't make it so. We've just been so propagandized to think that we're spreading freedom when we bomb the shit out of them. Yep. Beatles told Reuters in an interview that he's only seeking to have a free and fair election, regardless of who wins. He called it absurd to suggest that he's responsible for any threats or intimidation. What? This is wild. I've never called for violence. I simply just ask questions. Really? Really? Yeah, okay, dude. Whatever. Listen, I've never explicitly called I've never explicitly called for arson, okay? I just keep talking about how fire is cool. I just keep talking about like how matches work, how lighters work. But please stop thinking about fire. I never said anything about lighting fires. What are you doing? Right, it would be a shame if... I've never called for violence. I've simply asked questions. I just want to make sure our votes count. Well, they did, okay? Unless you have evidence to suggest, like, at this point, like, honestly, if... And I tried to maintain this. If you don't have evidence for making these claims, then shut up. Okay, either shut up or either put up or shut up. If you don't have evidence for these claims, just stop. I just want to make sure our votes count. Period. Correctly and legitimately. Well, yeah, they did. They did, unless you can prove otherwise, which so far you haven't. And we just went over an article where literally a judge has reviewed email communications between Trump and Eastman and his legal team and whatnot, where Trump acknowledges that, like, well, it doesn't really matter if what I'm saying is true. I acknowledge that maybe the numbers of voter fraud are actually not real, or actually not true, but we're going to push forward anyways. Okay. There's always a bit of caution to describing the state of any government, mostly because there's a difference between a democracy being bad because it's not democratic and a democracy that's bad because you don't get what you think is right. Yeah, but I think I could make a good case as to why I think that this democracy is bad because it's not democratic. I think I can make that case. And I'll make it to you. You've been here long enough to hear me say that in order for you to gauge how healthy of a democratic system you have, and for those folks who I guess haven't heard me do my spiel, you need three things. You need transparency. In other words, the people need to know what the heck is going on with their government. Inclusivity, which means that the people have to participate in order for this to work, in order for a democratic system to work really like in a healthy way. And you have to have strong institutions. In other words, these institutions that you have must function as is, must function as sold. And we have problems on all three of those. Generally speaking, we are very apathetic when it comes to participating in our democracy because we feel like it's not working. We feel very apathetic because we feel like we're not being heard because it's true. There's not a lot of transparency going on. That's for sure. And well, our institutions aren't really key institutions where it matters. It isn't functioning as intended. Look at the Supreme Court. The Senate. Removing the right to vote from someone for any reason is undemocratic. Yeah, I agree with this statement. Removing the right to vote from somebody for any reason is undemocratic. True. No one is immune to propaganda. True. The most secure election in U.S. history, according to many sources, mostly mail-in, I believe, too. Yep. Sadly, I know many people who believe that they are above that and then go ahead and vomit nonsense everywhere. Yep, so it happens. Dividing up areas to make some people's votes count more than others is undemocratic. Yes, the Electoral College, for one, is a broken institution. That's fundamentally undemocratic. Yes. Yes. Having gerrymandering. Yes. Other states also report mass departures of election of staffers, according to Reuters' interview with the election officials in 13 states. In Pennsylvania, more than 50 county election directors or assistant directors have left in the state's 67 counties since the 2020 vote. Jesus Christ, that is deeply disturbing, folks. 50 out of 67 counties. That's just wild. 2 senators per state, too. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. The Senate is broken. In South Carolina's 46 counties, 22 election directors have left office, and 30% of Texas election officials have exited over that same time period. In one county, the entire election staff resigned. Many officials in those states said threats, harassment, and incessant voter fraud claims are driving factors in the resignations. Threats, domestic terrorism. Why aren't these people being prosecuted? That's what I really want to know. That's what I really want to know. Why is domestic terrorism just allowed to run rampant? American elections are administered locally, and there's no authoritative nationwide count of resignation by election officials and staffers. Spicula said she and her family faced escalating threats, including someone following her home and strangers calling her husband's cell phone. You just feel like you're fighting for your life, she said. Other election officials reported similar troubles in Nevada, a state central to Republicans' hope to retake the evenly split U.S. Senate in November's midterm elections. Aubrey Rawat, the clerk in the Carson City, plans to leave at the end of her term in December after serving 8 years as an election official. She told Reuters the burnout and harassment from election deniers was just exhausting. It's hard to keep going, she said, because you know what's coming on the other side of the election. More nastiness. Right, and especially if this continues, I mean, this is just how it's going to be every election that these people don't win. The only acceptable outcome that people like this asshole over here, Beatles, the only acceptable outcome that they would deem a free and fair election is one where they win. Beatles said he has zero political aspirations, but he has been accumulating political power since moving to Nevada in 2019 from Lodi, California, where he made an unsuccessful run for Congress in 2010. What? I have zero political aspirations, but yeah, I've run for office and, I continue to get, involve myself in politics. Zero political aspirations, though. Yeah, whatever. He also amassed a fortune in cryptocurrency while working in construction, real estate, and software development. I hope it all crashed. I hope he lost everything. Cops are sympathetic to the offenders. True. Voting by mail should be nationwide. True. But if people don't trust the Senate or the SCOTUS, who manages them? Well, first of all, the Senate shouldn't be a thing, and the Supreme Court, what do you mean who manages them? They're able to be impeached. What do you mean who manages them? The U.S. has definitely slipped in the Democratic ratings in recent years, and Republican shenanigans does not help that whatsoever. Although, as you say, it definitely depends on how it was designed. The U.S. was never intended to be an absolute. No, I don't know if like an absolute democracy is like a thing that is going to be where like literally you get to decide on every little thing. However, the systems aren't working the way even as intended, which is a problem. As you say, it for reasons both legitimate and illegitimate, it is by all intents and purposes a perfect example of a polyarchy. But now we're getting technical and sidetracked. Yeah. I don't think I disagree. It'll be like this even if they do win. If they win, it'll be an open season on all people who symbolize their culture war enemy fantasies. Yep. The Senate won't do that. Well, that's the problem. If the Senate, if there's like impropriety in the Supreme Court and there's like legitimate reasons as to why a Supreme Court justice should be impeached and they don't, that's a verdict on the brokenness of the Senate, not on the idea. And further legitimizes then the argument that, well, maybe they shouldn't be trusted. True. The original Senate was intended to work this way. Simulacra. Soon after arriving in Reno, he and his family went on real estate spending spree, purchasing 26 properties in Washoe County for nearly $12.7 million since 2020, including $1.6 million home in the Sierra foothills, according to the county property records. Beadle says he's an investor in Gab. Of course. Of course. The messaging platform popular among right-wing users. Also known as a popular Nazi hub, too. Gab did not respond to requests for comment. He became very involved in cryptocurrency in 2011, making a well-timed investment in Bitcoin and eventually started a streaming channel called Crypto Beatles. What? YouTube took down the channel last year, saying it violated policies prohibiting misinformation about COVID and elections. Of course, he's been kicked off Twitter. His account is permanently suspended for repeated violations of the social network's rules, said a Twitter spokesperson who declined to elaborate on those reasons. Beatles45 describes himself as a constitutionalist. He calls politics a dirty game, but then involves himself in politics up to and including running. Okay. He says he wants to, quote, help people. He claims, no, it means that the checks and balances aren't working. To which then you should refer to my previous comment, which is to test to see if you have a healthy democracy, institutions in place must work as they're, billed as, right? If your checks and balances aren't working, then your democracy isn't as healthy as you think. If all these things aren't working as intended, your democracy may not be as healthy as you think. If there's no checks and balances to the Supreme Court or to the president, after inciting a literal insurrection, was not impeached because the Republican Party, a certain party, decided to stay completely behind him, despite having plenty of evidence, and more continues to come out till this day, that he absolutely had a hand in inciting this insurrection, knowingly lied. I mean, it means that they don't. It means that the checks and balances, not that they don't exist, it's just that it's not working. I don't know what that means. And as an extension of that point, the guy who developed the theory of polyarchy wrote a book called How Democratic is the American Constitution. It picks apart a series of critical undemocratic features. For him, most nations were polyarchies to certain degrees, with the exception of dictatorships. But because not all nations adhere to total democracy, and all nations have varying degrees of influence over government across its citizens. Yep. He claims the family ties to U.S. founding father Benjamin Franklin, frontiersman Daniel Boone, and Old West lawman Wyatt Earp. I don't know who that guy is, but what does this have to do with anything? And okay. He's also a vocal backer of a precinct strategy to take control of local Republican committees and elect like-minded candidates to county commissions, and school boards. Exactly. This is the plan that I was talking about. Look, like I said, this isn't a conspiracy. They're literally open about this. This is exactly how the plan is going to work. They want to capture local elections. They want to capture key positions when it comes to elections and who manages them. That's the goal. You don't know who Wyatt Earp? Nope. A shootout at the OK Corral? Oh. Huh. Oh, I see. Huh. There were several movies about it. It's actually about Wild West gun control. Interesting. Yeah, I'm reading some of the history. Wow. Interesting. Well, I don't know. What the relevance of him being relation? I don't even know if that's true. The strategy is promoted by high-profile right-wing figures such as former Trump advisor Steve Bannon. Again, literally was just talking about it not that long ago, as Trump himself endorsed it as a way to take back our great country from the ground up. A Trump spokesperson did not respond for a request for comment. On October of 2021, Beatles went on Bannon's War Room podcast to discuss this strategy. We need about 1 out of every 4 conservatives to stand up and become like a recruiting machine and recruit like 2 other people to become, quote, party activists. Beatles said on the show he said he worked with Arizona lawyer Dan Schultz and an architect of the precinct strategy, helping him to develop a website to promote his vision of a Trumplified Republican Party. But he wants what's best for the people, totally not an authoritarian fuck. Schultz did not respond. Remember, the only acceptable outcome is the ones that they agree with. As long as the dear leader is protected, everything is good. In Washoe, Beatles is putting these ideas into action. First, he won a seat. Oh, by the way, he's not trying to, he doesn't have any political aspirations, by the way. He won a seat on the Washoe County Republican Party Central Committee in July of 2021. He later became a Republican precinct leader to help turn out voters and was elected to the county party executive committee. But he doesn't have any political ambitions. He cemented his hold over the party as one of the biggest donors, contributing more than $830,000 to a variety of groups and politicians, including the Washoe Republican Party, his political action committee, local and statewide campaigns, and recall and recount efforts, election record shows. But remember, his exact quote was, he does not want any aspirations, no political aspirations whatsoever. Sorry, zero political aspirations was his exact quote. Sorry. Beatles began taking the higher profile Washoe County public meetings last year. In October of 21, he appeared before the county school board wearing a mask with the word censored on it. He railed against a proposal to censure a right-wing member of the board who had repeatedly tangled with other members. The proposal failed. Quote, God has blessed me, I have a shit ton of money. Yeah, that's what that means. And I'm going to do everything that I effing can to remove all of you. He publicly opposed pandemic-related restrictions and launched a campaign to oust a school board president, citing the board's COVID policies and other complaints. The recall effort would ultimately fail months later, and when backers did not collect enough voter signatures to move forward. In January appearance on the right-wing in a January appearance on the right-wing Stu Peters national radio show, Beadle talked about the power of county governments, which run elections in most of the country. So here's where it starts getting a little bit, a little bit dark. They wield so much power that with one vote, they can literally end all this madness. He said he urged listeners to pressure their county officials to adopt his plan to rewrite election rules, including eliminating voting machine and ballot drop boxes. So again, remember, he never explicitly made any type of call to action, but he did. Trump allies have basically claimed that left-wing operatives stuffed drop boxes with fraudulent absentee ballots in the 2020 election, that rigged the voting machines and robbed votes, and that rigged voting machines robbed votes from Trump. Again, both of these are completely unsubstantiated. Most of these claims, the absent ballots stuffing, comes from Dinesh D'Souza's 2000 Meals garbage. Not a cult, though. Not a cult, by the way. Beadle's attack on Washoe County officials intensified in February after he concluded that there were 40,000 more votes than voters in 2020. Based on his, quote, own analysis of election data, county officials say he misread the data, which are snapshots of the voter roll given at given points in time, by failing to account for the fact that voters are added and dropped continuously as people move or die. When two of the three Republicans on the 5-member county board resisted his false election fraud ideas, Beadle then went after them. He launched a recall petition to remove the commission's Republican chairman, Von Hartung, who opposed Beadle's proposed election policy changes. The February 14th recall, however, fell apart after two Republican Party leaders withdrew their support, saying he has gone too far in his attacks. One of them was Sandra Linares, then treasurer for the county Republican Party. She told Reuters that she pulled out of the recall effort after Beadle aired radio ads that she considered scorched earth attacks on Hartung. This is a Republican attacking a Republican, Linares said. In an interview, Linares and the county party vice chair eventually quit after Beadle started attacking them, accusing the women of being rhinos or Republican in name only. The former vice chair, Cindy Martinez, declined to comment. On March 26, after 6 hours of public comment, Washoe's commissioner rejected a Beadle-backed resolution to overhaul elections, including counting all ballots by hand instead of with machines. That vote was 4-1 with Hartung and another Republican commissioner siding with the two Democrats. After the vote, Beadle stepped up attacks on Lucy, who ultimately lost a June primary election after Beadle's Political Action Committee targeted him in a direct mail campaign. It's like guerrilla warfare, Lucy said. He will viciously attack anybody that is in opposition to him. But of course, he just wants what's best for the people. Hey, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here, buddy. Alright, well. Come here, buddy. Never mind. There he goes. Well, I tried to get a buddy on stream. Remember, the only acceptable outcome is the one that I deem acceptable. And Beadle said he's backing candidates to restore America to a constitutional republic, and by that he means people that only agree with him. You could make this about the messenger, but the people are waking up. He did not answer any questions about Hartung, Lucy, or Linares. Beadle's also poured money into Nevada's highest-profile statewide races this year, backing a fellow election conspiracy theorist in the Republican nominating contest for governor. In June, after his candidate Joey Gilbert lost the primary election by 11 points to Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo, Beatles blamed Gilbert's poor performance on voter fraud, of course, because every election that I don't win is fraudulent. That's just how this is going to go from now on. Gilbert lost the recount, but still hasn't conceded. Gilbert has declined to comment. By late summer, Beatles and other election deniers dominated the leadership of Washou's Republican Party, and its Central Committee adopted a resolution claiming that President Joe Biden did not win the 2020 election. The July 25th declaration said the election system in Washoe County, where Biden narrowly beat Trump, allegedly suffered a, quote, cyber attack on November 5th of 2020 that flipped votes to Biden and altered the outcome. Of course, evidence of this was never presented. Few bore the brunt of Beatles' political attacks like Spicula, the registrar of voters. A California native, she moved to Reno in 1991 and took a job in the county government after college. She joined the election department in 2011. The following year, she changed her political affiliation on her voter registration from Republican to nonpartisan. I just immediately fell in love with this work, she said. It was that feeling of fulfillment and pride in the work you did. I've never had that feeling before. County commissioners appointed her as the registrar, the top election official in 2017. The rumbling of citizen rage hit her office in May of 2020 when one of her temporary staffers handled a mail-in ballot for the state primary election that bore the words sealed with COVID-19 spit. Yeah. Spicula alerted the police. The Washoe County office arrested a man, but the county district office determined that there was insufficient evidence to file charges and drop the case. Yeah. Cool. Anyways, I think that the point is made here that these people aren't going to stop. And they are absolutely engaging in terrorism across the board. And I mean that quite literally. To use the exact definition, terrorism, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, a death threat, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of a political aim, which fits exactly this definition. She's just one example, but there have been many election officials who have received death threats, who have been the targets of intimidation, harassment, stalking, by these terrorists, by these domestic terrorists, and this is probably not going to stop. Every election that they don't win, it's just going to be another round of this. All right, so we've got a few more headlines to go through. Let me just take a moment here. Folks, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the follow button. And if you haven't already, consider heading on over to the YouTube channel and hitting the subscribe button. We appreciate all the support. And we also have an announcement. In a couple of weeks, well, I should say not this weekend, but I think the weekend following, we will be delivering some supplies to the folks that have been affected by Hurricane Ian. This is something that's been largely organized by the co-host. And if you guys want to chip in and you guys want to support that, I believe you can just hit !tip. And any of that will help us in our endeavor. I do thank you guys for all the support, all the follows, all the biddies, everything. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. We've only got a couple more headlines, so we're gonna get through this. I promise. All right, Trump is set to be deposed in rape defamation lawsuit by Jean Carroll. So it looks like he's not going to escape this. He's going to have to testify under oath. On October 12th, Trump lost his bid to delay being questioned under oath by Carroll's lawyers when a federal judge brushed aside arguments that a pending appeal in the lawsuit warranted putting this case on hold. There you have it. So we'll see as to what the ramifications are of this. Any updates we'll go over. The big one is that he's not going to escape deposition. The EPA sued over lack of plan to regulate water pollution from factory farms. Dozens of advocacy groups have filed a lawsuit against the EPA, claiming that the federal government has failed to come up with a plan to regulate water pollution from factory farms. The suit claims that the agency has yet to respond to a 2017 legal petition from more than 30 environmental groups demanding that the EPA tighten its Clean Water Act enforcement for factory farms, also known as a concentrated animal or CAFOs, where thousands of animals are sometimes confined. The agency has never explained how it plans to crack down on water pollution that often contains manure, antibiotics, and chemicals, the groups argue. Federal rules require government agencies to respond to petitions within a, quote, reasonable time. Given the magnitude of health and environmental threats, competing priorities do not justify further delay. Livestock and poultry create about 1.4 billion tons of manure a year, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Factory farms often store manure in ponds that can overflow into streams, lakes, or rivers and leach into groundwater. Manure causes nitrogen and phosphorus in the water, tainting drinking water and causing toxic algae blooms that lead to aquatic life. Waste polluted water can irritate skin and cause gastrointestinal and respiratory problems, according to the CDC. The agency itself has said that 3/4 of factory farms discharge pollution. Jesus Christ, 75%. It'll be Trump doll deposing. Pull the string. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. True. The EPA has set up a Catch Me If You Can system, said Miller. Factory farms only have to get Clean Water Act permits if they admit they discharge, which obviously it's not an incentive to do so. Yeah, this is wild. They just honor system the Clean Water Act. Yeah. Federal authorities have been reluctant to regulate factory farms since the Clean Water Act passed in 1972, said Anthony Schutz, an associate dean and associate professor at the University of Nebraska Law School. They're a powerful agriculture lobby that doesn't support regulation. It would rather see pollution abatement accomplished through voluntary action. If the lawsuit is successful, it could lead to the EPA to push states to tighten pollution enforcement or risk losing their ability to regulate agriculture. Yeah. When it comes to clean drinking water and whatnot, I don't think that you need to play around with that. Screw these guys. You gotta tighten the screws on these assholes. Alright. DeSantis administration agrees to release Martha Vineyard records by December. Convenient. Florida Governor DeSantis administration this week pushed back against a lawsuit seeking the immediate release of all records related to the flights of the migrants from Texas to Massachusetts, but agreed to provide them no later than December 1st. Lawyers for Republican governor filed a 9-page response on Tuesday to a demand from the open government group Florida Center of Government Accountability for records, including phone and text logs from DeSantis's chief of staff, James Uthmeier, as well as any communications between Florida and Texas officials. Alia with another 10 biddies, thank you so much. Florida Center for Government Accountability filed a lawsuit earlier this month after DeSantis administration did not hand over records. The group was seeking about 2 charter flights in September that transported nearly 50 Venezuelan migrants to the resort island in Massachusetts. A circuit judge in Leon County gave the governor's office until this week to respond. DeSantis pushed to relocate migrants, which the governor said was done to draw attention to the Biden administration's immigration policies, was roundly condemned by Democrats who accuse him of human trafficking and exploiting vulnerable migrants for political gain. Florida is using interest earned off the billions in COVID-19 relief aid provided by Congress to pay to relocate the migrants from Florida to other states. In its response, the DeSantis administration said it received more than 90 public record requests related to the flights and has a backlog of 245 overall requests that it's currently processing. The Florida Center for Government Accountability has no right to leap ahead of other requesters to have its request satisfied at breakneck speed just because it may have the resources to and wherewithal to engage in litigation. The Florida Constitution requires state and local governments agencies to release their official records, but there's no specific timeline for when entities must produce the documents. The center, in its lawsuit, contended that none of the records it was asking for were exempt from disclosure and called the delay unjustified and an unlawful delay. The government's office notes it has handed over some records related to the flights, including a large batch late last Friday. The top officials in the administration, including Uthmeier and DeSantis public safety czar Larry Keefe, were involved in the migrant relocation program. Michael Barfield, the director of public access with the Florida Center of Government Accountability, fired back on Wednesday, said that the fact that others have not filed a lawsuit does not excuse a delay to produce records. Everyone in the line has been complaining loudly about the delay, but it has fallen on deaf ears. The center decided to stop complaining and asked a judge to intervene. I would also like to note that it's very convenient that he has admitted that he will release these documents December 1st, which is very conveniently after the elections. Very convenient. Very, very convenient that he's intending to release these documents December 1st after the elections. Very interesting. All right, folks, last story. Texas parents sent DNA kits by schools to identify kids' bodies. The state of Texas is sending public school students home with DNA kits designed to help their parents identify the children in case of an emergency, because that's the dystopic reality we live in. In 2021, the Texas state legislature passed Senate Bill number 2158, a law requiring the Texas Education Agency to provide identification kits to school districts and open enrollment charter schools for distribution to the parent or legal custodian of certain students. The law passed after 8 students and 2 teachers were shot and killed inside Santa Fe High School in Santa Fe almost a year before 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers were gunned down in Robb Elementary in Uvalde. The Texas public school system will provide ink-free fingerprint and DNA identification cards to all K-6 students who are eligible. Parents are not mandated to use these kits. The three-fold pamphlet allows caregivers to store their children's DNA and fingerprints at home, which could then be turned over to law enforcement agencies in the event of a, quote, emergency. According to legislation mandating the kits be provided to qualifying Texas families, the fingerprint and DNA verification kits were intended to help locate and return a missing or trafficked child, or, a child who is basically unidentifiable by a mass shooter, which happened. In the wake of the second deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. history and the botched police response that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead, Texas parents are apprehensive about the kits and the message some are sending, saying it sends to Texas. Yeah. So, as I was saying, many of the children were not easily identifiable as a result of the damage. Catastrophic injuries. Some close family members had to provide DNA swabs in order to positively ID the kids. Folks. The kids. Totally dystopic. Everything is fine. Everything is normal here. Tracy Walder, former CIA and FBI agent and current college professor, taught high school history for 16 years, said she was devastated when she heard her second grade daughter would be sent home with a kit. You have to understand that I'm former law enforcement. I worry every single day when I send my kids to school. Now we're giving parents DNA kits so that when their child is roadblocks with the same weapon of war I went to in Afghanistan, parents can use them to identify them. Walder said that she had to find the right words of how she feels, but she doesn't think she can because sometimes it's beyond comprehension. It sends two messages. One, that the government isn't doing anything. Two is that parents are now forced to have conversation with kids that they may not be emotionally ready for. Yeah. So this is about as dystopic as it gets. Watch police force equals total shit show of law enforcement and cowardice. Yep. But instead of attempting to solve any of the underlying problems, we're just gonna send DNA testing kits to, identify the bodies. That's the level of dystopia. That is the reality here. Buddy. Come here, buddy. Buddy. Hold on, folks. Buddy is just saying hello. I guess just a brief interlude after that story. Semi-cat stream. Say hello, buddy. Okay. Yeah, anyways, I think that the point is significantly made as to how dystopic this is. I guess everything is bigger in Texas, including dystopia. Alright, folks. We did it. Folks, it is that time. I do gotta get going. It's just about 7:30. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you so much for mixing it up in the chat. Thank you so much for all the biddies. Thank you so much for the follows. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the subscriptions on the YouTubes. Consider if you haven't already, hitting the big red subscribe button on the YouTubes. It really does help us out. Spread the word far and wide that this is a chillest place to be. Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, if you do want to help us out with this relief effort that we're doing, consider throwing in a tip or spreading the word, whichever one. Thank you guys so much. Michael Hassler, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate that, folks. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Have a nice evening, and I see you tomorrow. Yep, absolutely. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Laters. Alright, let's go to Hilda Beast. Go help them out. Hang tight, everybody. We are heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.